Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, thank you to the CIO for allowing me to speak, and thank you for everybody attending. Okay, so today, as Kelly said, we're going to be talking about modularity in data centers, and without any further ado, let's go through the agenda. So today's data center, Eaton in a data center, X-modular, reference designs, and a partner approach. So in today's data center, as we all know, data is generated, transmitted, switched, processed, stored, and of course, at the end of the day, displayed. And just out of interest, when you were told to Google or whatever, the internet minute for somebody like Google looks like 5.7 million searches in 1 minute. So that, if we look at this, the chart that's showing us that there's a lot of data going through a data center, and in the future, the rate's going to expand. So industries that are gaining out of this, there's a breakdown per industry, and each one of those industries are measured in hundreds of thousands of US dollars, and we see that manufacturing is gaining a lot of traction in that. So where's this coming from? It's coming from AI machine learning and from algorithms that run in the background. Again, of course, all of this is in a data center. And one of the facts that I'd like to point out is that there is a presence of the two companies that have just highlighted in orange. And one of them, Digital Realty. And some of you may very well be aware that they have a direct African presence, and that includes in Mombasa and Nairobi. And Equinix are looking at expanding into Africa. And these are global players, one of them with 40.1 billion US dollars, and the other one with 64.4 billion US dollars. The investments are significant. I welcome you to Google and see their presence on this continent. So why is this important to us? Is that when there's a significant amount of investment and the rate that it needs to grow at, our philosophy will be presented further on in the presentation as to how we keep up with these numbers and trends that I'm showing. Okay, so the first point is that there's no better time than now to engage with an intelligent power partner. And an intelligent power management company inside a data center, and I'm not here today to teach you what a data center is. Everybody knows what a data center is. I'm just showing all the aspects, and we shall see that the highlighted modular system is what we're going to talk about today. There's a video that's going to play, and I'll do a talk over because there's some challenge with the sound. Okay, so what we're showing is that are we ready for a unique way of expanding your data center? And what we looked at was the entire data center facility, from the power to the IT to everything. And this video is just showing a quick overview of what's to come in the rest of the presentation of how something like this is put together. From mechanical, electrical, IT, from the gray space to the white space to the software and the entire data center offering. Okay, so let's start with what is X-modular. X-modular is a prefabricated design system that can be deployed very rapidly. If one looks at the traditional data center where you've got to have a building constructed, X-modular helps address that. So where can a modular system be deployed? Obviously, cloud service providers, the core, the traditional, I say core, telcos, switches, internet exchanges, this normal standard office, and of course to access edge and endpoint applications. So we have, and the industry has started developing things like this, where you can grow from something extremely small, which we would call a micro DC, which is for, let's say, an emerging company, to something that's hyperscale. Now, traditionally, one would put all these parts together in a box, and you'd need somebody to help you make sure that everything happens. So as a turnkey company, one can provide every single aspect of the electrical power chain and the data power chain for service to be equipped in. So traditionally, like I said, there would be medium voltage transformers, low voltage switchgear, and so it carries on. And a lot of the IT people, to them, this doesn't matter. What actually matters is, does it work? And how do I deploy it? And that's the message of today, is that instead of worrying about all of that, you just worry about a box. Or a box. Now, we're going to dig into that box, and that box on the right-hand side, just for the room's knowledge, that was deployed in Africa. That's a 2 megawatt or 2.5 megawatt containerized energy center. So, one would say, is this something that's just for Europe or in Americas? No, this is developed in Africa, for Africa. Okay, so let's start small. A micro data center, one rack, 42U, 1.6 kilowatts, cooling, everything all in one box. All the data center operator needs to worry about is utility power, generator power, and network connectivity. The rest, we take care of. And of course, your computer equipment. If that's not enough, you get a bigger one. If that's not enough, you get a bigger one. And so it carries on. So if you start small, you can see that one can scale up. But in this case, this is still contained to a building. It's inside the premises. There's still some ancillaries that need to be done. But cooling, fire suppression, network connectivity, power, and I'm talking resilient power where there's an A and a B supply and PDUs and everything, it's all in the box. So that's basically what's on the screen. Then, I spoke about indoor. This is outdoor. So if you've got some critical network application that you need to keep up, and there's no place in the building or it's very remote, we have got an outdoor solution too, which is IP65. That's for the electrical people in the room. Okay, so let's dig into the box. And we're saying that it's all in one IT. So in this case, what are we looking at? That's a data center in a box that's got 4 racks. And we may say, okay, but 4 racks is not enough. If 4 racks is not enough, then you say that I want a bigger one. And I'll show you that now. In this case here, one can see that there's fire suppression, the racks, the electrical distribution, the network distribution, the containment, the access control, everything. Pressurization of the room, and obviously weatherproofed to the outdoor application. And it's non-ISO. If we look at a bigger one, that gets deployed, this is what it looks like outside. One can see that on the outside of it, that's the aircon units that are clipped on afterwards. And we are now showing an example of a bigger one. Remember I said that if 4 is not enough, one can get a pre-configured larger system. In this case, it's 60 kilowatts of IT load, which is significant. But again, as we're saying, if this is not enough, we can just grow even further. The good thing about something like this is, if you want to have a data center, what do you need? You need this box. You need a utility connection. You need a place to put it, and you need power. If we look at something even bigger, in that case, it's 100 kilowatts of IT load. And again, as I said, it's cooling's done, everything's done. You need a place, you need connectivity, and you need power. When it comes to the power side, yes, we can do the emergency backup piece, but obviously we can't provide the utility. So if we move on, and we have a look at what does something like it actually look like. If it's deployed, the cooling, as we can see, the cooling condenser units are on the top, and that's let's say, a cutout view of the entire data center. No bricks, no mortar, no time wasted. And in that case, the electrical engineering and all of that has been vetted and pre-designed. So it's just a matter of saying, I want 100 kilowatts of IT load, so many racks, and the system's deployed. Okay, so if we move on, of course, I said we need power. Now, you need to be able to engage or connect to the utility, whichever country you're in, and I don't know the names of all the utilities, but in Kenya, the utility, you would need 11,000 volts or whatever to connect. And we can provide, of course, the modules that do the energy distribution to the data center. This is a look at a 2 megawatt. Remember, I said that we can just go up in size. In this case, it's a 2 megawatt solution. Again, order the box, connect the power, and the entire energy is taken care of in one shot. If we have a look, of course, like I said, there's predetermined designs. We've got all the flow diagrams. We've got all the resilience studies, everything in place that it gives you, let's say, future-proofing your design, because it's not a matter of you'll be the first. You'll be one of many, because there's others that have future-proofed that for you, where it's a confirmed design vetted by many other electrical consultants. And as we know in the IT space, there's an electrical consultant, an IT consultant, and then a check consultant. And sometimes there's even tiered testing, where you have from step 1 to step 5, where the entire thing is verified before occupied. This, what we're looking at, is the medium voltage side. So that's what would connect you to Kenya Power. Again, it's all modularized, so you don't need to engage with all these high voltage engineers and all of that. Your engagement starts with Kenya Power to say, give me a cable. Of course, you don't do that. The electrical engineer does that. But the electrical engineer isn't designing inside the box. They're just making sure you get a connection. And as we move on, of course, like I said, we can talk about the temperature densities, temperature moving around because of the warranty of the server. Some may say, I want to run it colder than others. We've got a solution for each one of those. So if we look at this, now there's a new buzzword in the market, lithium. And some people fear lithium. So for that reason only, not because we fear lithium, but because the industry in some cases fear it, we have a separate battery module. So what that means is that you can remove that risk completely from your data center because it's outside. What does this look like? So inside, there'd be a bunch of lithium racks, and that's a typical picture of what an industry professional could provide, where you've got lithium batteries and a battery distribution system that you would just simply connect to your module. It's safe. It's separate, and that's what matters. Is in a data center, you want to reduce a single point of failure, and of course, if you have an incident with a battery, that can be a single point of failure. Therefore, we promote, and others promote, the fact that the battery is separate from the energy center. So there's a couple of things that let's say, developed countries, more developed countries, because that's just where it is, some of the UPSs are capable of providing power back to the utility. Now, there's a lot of utilities that aren't ready for this. But what we believe in is that when a utility is ready for this, and there's a lot of stored energy in a data center, the utility could contact some of the data centers, and in some cases, the data centers are significant. One could provide emergency power back to the grid, to support the grid, to make sure that the grid is more stable, to make sure that you can get some revenue out of this, to make sure that you are competitive. Because if you can find a way to use your asset to make a bit of extra money when, of course, the utility is questioning or asking, then the data center can do it. And for the electrical people, I'm just going to quickly go through that. These are some of the things that can do. Frequency regulation, peak shaving, and peak shaving is the only one I'm going to cover. What peak shaving is that there's a time where your data center demands more than other times. And we can find ways to make sure that even if your data center demand changes, your electrical demand remains the same. And that is significant because I'm sure in Kenya, like other countries, you pay on maximum demand. So if there's like maybe 1 hour where there's maximum demand, you can do things to make sure that that maximum demand is managed. Okay, so we wouldn't be anything without digital. And today I am going to talk about managing everything digitally. Everybody's familiar with the DCIM. And let's have a look at what a DCIM does. So this is a virtual picture, firstly, of your data center that one would see on the computer. This is what you would see on your own screen of your own data center. Each image would be bitmapped in, and you could then click on, let's say, the distribution board. You could click down to a specific section, and you could say, is that section performing correctly? It can be alarmed to tell you that I'm reaching a limit. it can send you signaling for preventative maintenance. The same with the cooling unit. Is it running? Is it right? When's the maintenance? What's the PUE? PUE being the overall efficiency of the data center. Is the UPS behaving itself? Is it resilient? Is it redundant? Has it been maintained? The same with, I'm just a bit ahead of the video. The same with the building management system, access control, everything. It's all in one view, all in one screen to manage the entire overview. It looks at the cooling image to say, is there any hotspots? If there's a hotspot, you can start identifying where it is to manage risk. And as all data center operators know, it's about availability, it's about uptime. And if you can foresee that there's something going wrong, prevention is definitely better than the cure. Okay, so that's just at the end of the video, and sorry, we just have to, because the video is embedded. Right, so what is the software looking at? It's looking at the utility, it's looking at the UPS, it's looking at the generator, it's looking at all of these things that the CIO actually, do they really need to look at that? Let's rather just be concerned whether it's on or off, and if it's going to go off, let's understand sooner than later why. Okay, so how do we do this? Firstly, you enter with a partner. And all global companies haven't got a presence everywhere. So we set up strategic partners in this country to make sure that we have a local presence, local support to make sure that your services are met. In some cases where there is data center opportunities in this country of, let's say, 50 megawatts or 25 megawatts, in that case, we would enter into a direct arrangement because of finance. But what I'm showing you is proof that a modularized energy center at a recognized company that's present in East Africa, that's their solution, going to site, 10 megawatts, and that's a significant solution. There is others being deployed in Africa, but for me to talk about a client, I need permission, and in this case, obviously, we have their permission to showcase their system being deployed. That's 10 megawatts. Each one of those boxes, which I showed before, is 2.5 megawatts, and of course, they can be expanded. So why X modular? Reduce CapEx, faster time to market, optimized, embedded, and support. And thank you very much. So if there's any questions, please, at the end, you know what I look like now? You can approach, we can talk, we can guide, we can lead, and we are open to discuss your needs. And for today, we will be vendor neutral. If you have a challenge, we'll talk about the challenge. We will not talk about the vendor. And thank you very much, team.
I like that.